All right, welcome back. Season 9. We are excited to have you guys. You guys can excuse if Brad and I sound a little stuffy today. Both of us are dealing with a little bit of stuff under the weather.
Right.
Just a little bit. So you guys can excuse our more nasally voices. We are going to start off as we do with a review from one of you. And just a little side note. Guys, waiting for some more reviews. Would love to have them.
I'm gonna have to start making them up. I mean, we're running out to do it.
You're going to start making up reviews?
I guess.
Are they all going to be emojis?
No, I'll throw some bad ones in there.
Oh, wow. Now you're going to give us bad reviews? Like, no, you cannot be in charge of that. This one is from Kaya Leonard. It says, I have you guys to thank. I am a 23-year-old wife and mama of a 3-year-old boy and a 1-year-old boy. Since my husband had left us 2 months ago and is wanting a divorce, God, my boys, and your podcast have kept me going. It's been a complete emotional roller coaster, but you both have given me so much hope and encouragement. Thank you for sharing your story. I believe God can reconcile this marriage, and that most importantly, my husband can reconcile his relationship with God. Yeah. Thank you. I definitely want an update from you, Kaya, if you're listening.
Yeah.
We would love to hear from you. And I do love that you recognize that the reconciliation between your husband and God is the most important aspect of that. And I think that's huge. So thank you for that encouragement. It means so much to us. You really have no idea how much those things mean to us. So on to a very serious topic this week.
I know.
Dun, dun, dun. Manipulation. I feel like I need to have like some kind of, listen, if you guys listened last week, if there's any kind of awkward silence.
You feel it.
I feel it and I.
Feel it and feel it.
I feel it and I feel it. Okay. So if Brad's ever like overly quiet at the beginning of a podcast, I'm just like, okay, I'll just keep rambling onward for a little while.
But I'm not overly quiet. Like, am I going to interrupt you you're doing the whole intro?
Is
like,
that
what am I supposed to do?
No, I'm saying, I'm not saying that today that's a thing. I'm saying in past episodes, for anyone who's listened to us for a long period of time, you're going to recognize it now because I've ratted myself out that if there's a silence at all, then I'm just like, blah, 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 blah. And then like, and now that we're on YouTube, it's even worse because then if I give you like the little like deer in headlights look, like, help me out here, now everyone can see it.
It's fine.
It's fine.
Yeah.
Okay. So we're going to talk about manipulation today. I think because of the fact that you and I work with a lot of marriages that are in crisis, this is something that we see firsthand a lot.
Yeah.
And it's like so evident to us now, even when people think that we can't see it.
Yeah, it is. I mean,
it's just like red flag, red flag, red flag.
Yeah. And I mean, to be perfectly honest, it makes me mad. Because they're wasting my time.
Honesty.
Well, they're wasting my time. Like, don't try to manipulate me.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
I mean, that's where
Well, I want to start off the episode by saying something. If you recognize yourself and or maybe your relationship as we're talking in this episode, I don't want someone who feels like they're quote unquote like a victim of manipulation to feel stupid or wonder how the heck am I in this position? No. Because over time and in the right situation and circumstances and people, anyone can be manipulated. And we all have been at various points in our life. So this isn't about saying like, oh, how could you not see that? Like
no.
This is to help you see it and to start addressing some of those things in your relationship. Or if it's if you recognize yourself in some of these tactics, to also do what's necessary in order to change the things that are clearly not helping your marriage.
Yeah, being manipulated doesn't mean you're stupid.
Yeah, but I think it's important people know that because I think, I coach a lot of women one-on-one, and especially if someone's been very manipulated their whole relationship, you look back and you just wonder, like, how did I not see that? How could I not recognize that that was happening in my marriage? And it does make you feel very stupid, especially when you usually see it after a bad thing has happened. And so then it's just like, how could I not see it? How could I not see it?
Yeah. So true. I'm just agreeing
and here
with
we go, guys. Here we go.
Agreeing with that. I mean, it's just so, like, I don't blame people that get manipulated. You know, like, I'm not blaming anyone. What I'm saying is I hate that.
Manipulation. Yeah.
Period.
What do you think is the most common type of manipulation that you see?
Man. Man, I'm trying to think. Like, we see so much of it. And I think one of the biggest ones is, and we've talked about this, and maybe it's different for you, but for me, I think one of the biggest ones is using phrases that I use, right? It's kind of like that used car salesman.
Yeah.
Right? Like, they're trying to get me to buy a car. First of all, I hate going to buy cars. Like, we don't buy cars a lot. I just don't like that whole process.
Yeah.
But, you know, he's going to, like, try to get, like, be, what do you call it? Not familiar. Well, yeah, being familiar with me and being, like, my best friend or whatever. And he's going to use phrases I use and, you know, try to match me.
Like validate almost. Yeah. It's like that validation.
Not validating. No, like trying to match me.
Yeah.
And so that way, like, I let my guard down or whatever, but it's just this, like, it's a manipulative process, right? That, and also stating that you're manipulative. Like, I've had that too. Mm-hmm. Like, I know I'm very manipulative, and then starts talking, and you're like,
even that's manipulative.
Doing it right now. Like, you can't stop doing this. But I think I think the biggest one is the words, the phrases, words, you know, when they start to speak your language, quote unquote, you know, I think that's a huge one. And I've fallen for it in coaching when we've been helping a couple and someone, like, you know, I'm thinking, like, in person one we've done, a few we've done in person, and one in particular, the guy, like, the next time we met, he's, like, using all these phrases that I'm like, I mean, at first you're like, oh, maybe
you're getting it.
You're getting it. And then, but then, like, as soon as I finish that sentence, in my head, I'm like, no, you're not getting it. You're literally just pandering to me.
Yeah.
And I don't like it.
Yeah.
And I called them out on that one specifically, but I don't, it's a double-edged sword with all the manipulation that we've seen, because I don't know if I'm hyper-focused on it now.
Yeah. You know, you and I had this discussion.
Almost like too much, where it's like, I don't trust you at all, you know, or if I need to have a little bit more empathy. But it's just when people use phrases that I use, immediate red flag goes up, because I'm like, you didn't talk like that before you came in.
Certain contexts, it's like where you can realize, like, they are just gathering, like, catchphrases in order to, I would say pander to you and also to their spouse, because it's very appealing when you use the right words. And I would say that is like an emotional manipulation is you use phrases, you use words, right? But here's where people get, especially women, we want, like, that verbal affirmation, right? And if someone is, you know, using all the right words, we want to just inherently believe them, even if you have walked through things that tell you shouldn't believe them, right? Yeah. So then someone uses a lot of words, it's like this form of manipulation, and then their actions never line up with it. This is where we end up seeing so many couples is like, oh, well, they're doing all these things, or they're saying all these things, they're saying all these things. Oh, well, they listen to your podcast. And then, you know, all of a sudden I'm hearing them talk about, you know, actual transformation and not behavior modification and like going on with that. But then that spouse just skips, like, okay, you can say all the things, but if your actions don't line up with those words, they're nothing.
Yeah.
Like, they mean nothing. And so people skip, like, assessment and looking for the fruit because they just so want it to be better. And I'd say somebody who is especially manipulative looks for people who in general do have that positive outlook, or in general want to fix things or make it better or ignore the issue, right? So that you can just, okay, we're fine. you know? And so I think we see that one a lot. Emotional blackmail is definitely something where you're using guilt or fear or obligation. Like, if you really love me, you would do this.
Oh,
that
okay.
kind of thing.
Yeah.
Right? Like, that's something that's very manipulative.
I was trying to figure out.
Or even like, well, so-and-so's wife does this, or so-and-so's husband does that. Like, that's manipulation.
Yeah. I think it's interesting because I always just think of it like one way. You know, the manipulation is this one idea in my head.
Man, some of the most manipulative people I know are women.
Do I manipulate? Do you manipulate me?
Wow. Now I'm trapped either way. If I say no or if I say yes, like, is that just a trap?
Yeah,
like,
exactly.
is this conversation manipulative?
I don't even know what's going on anymore. You're Jedi.
Like, we're gonna get like all philosophical. Yeah. Is everything manipulation? But is it?
Side, I dislike when people do that. Stop overthinking everything. Everything doesn't have to be super philosophical.
I like how Brad right now, his face is like, wait, are you manipulating me? First you started off asking if you manipulated me.
Then
you
I'm
went,
like, I can't. I can't think of any way that I would do that.
What's the ways that you think I would?
I don't know.
Interesting. You think about it.
You're my sexy wife. Like, you could do so many things to manipulate me into doing something.
I'm like, can I now?
Yes, you can.
Let's think about all the ways.
You have my permission.
Okay. Is it manipulation if you like it? I don't know. Okay. We're so off track now. So, yeah, I do think this is both sides of it, that emotional manipulation. But I think specifically women can really play on this too in, you know, bringing up other people's marriages or the comparison thing, or you're not giving me enough of this, or if you would do this, like that kind of always that dance on expectations. And then men also, same thing, they do this comparison, or like so-and-so's wife never asks to do this or says this, or is asking them to have all these conversations. And so I think both sides of it, but emotional manipulation, guilt, fear, obligation. Yeah. You can use. I
think that's the one, that's the title.
Emotional blackmail. Yeah.
Yeah. I think that's more of a woman's thing.
Wow.
But
that's not true.
I think that if there was a poll for,
so you don't think, okay, let me give it,
people,
there's maybe we need to put it out there. We should just put a poll out there. If you think specifically in the affair recovery side of things,
okay,
then typically, not always, we deal with women who are also on the other side, but typically if it's the man, don't you think there's a high level of emotional manipulation that's going on?
You're like, you're gonna say yes. That's what you're looking at.
This is me Jedi mind tricking you to answer correctly, Brad.
I mean, yes.
Smart man.
Yes, but I think I've experienced, not in our relationship in coaching.
This is going dark really quick, guys.
No, and like I can think of a couple specific situations where the recovery in this specific realm, right? It was going fairly well. But like every time we saw them, she would emotionally manipulate him by, you know, bringing everything up over again.
Yeah.
And so constantly, like, we're getting on these calls and it just looks like,
I would classify that as emotional sabotage, not necessarily just saboteur. No, because I do think there's a difference. Like, it's not that in recovery, okay, it's not always that someone's trying to manipulate someone in a certain direction. It's pain. And so a lot of times your trying to get somewhere, or you're bringing something up more for like emotional protection, not manipulation. That would be my caveat. So you're saboteur. But you're not meaning to. Usually in those instances, it's like more of a safety mechanism. That's like, I'm going to bring this up because like I need you to recognize this is this bad thing that happened, and I'm trying to feel safe, and I don't feel safe yet. So I'm going to continually bring it up. So I think that's different than emotional manipulation. And I would say that, you know, especially in the area of betrayal, you see that a lot, the emotional blackmail or that side of things when someone's in the process of an affair. And so that actually ends up being very detrimental to the spouse, who then is looking back and saying like, wait, you said all these things, or wait, you did all these things and I thought we were fine, and it wasn't. And then on the other side of that, with the person that someone is stepping out on, like that person too is being emotionally manipulated. And so there's just a lot of emotional manipulation or blackmail that's going on there. You like my caveat? I was just like, boom.
Yeah, I'm just saying that I think if there was a poll or a pie chart, it would be heavier on the women's side for emotional manipulation than the men's side. I'm just saying.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with you in like a typical day-to-day when you're not really dealing with crisis. Women have a tendency to have that.
I mean, think about, okay, let's have fun with this. Think about like, even to this aspect, and it's not, okay, this isn't a bad thing, right? But
I'm just waiting to see what you're going to say now.
So when our oldest was a little baby girl, right? Like 2, 1, 2, 3. The looks that she would give me, I give her whatever she wanted. Like,
is that still what I could do right now if I just developed the right looks?
You do. How often, if ever, do I say no to you?
I will say women are very good at giving the looks for certain things.
Yeah, I'm just saying, like, when, okay, here's another example. But no, that's not a good example. I was going to give our son, but he wasn't trying to manipulate us into doing anything. But that little girl, like when they're like, you know, at 3, 4 years old, they look at you like, yeah, she had me wrapped around her finger. So she looks at me, whatever, like, here, yeah, you can have a candy. Like, that's like that emotional tug, you know, even as this little tiny thing that they could manipulate you into doing something.
Okay, I'll give you, yes, we need to do a poll on this, apparently.
But
okay, what about gaslighting? The definition of really making your spouse, another person, like doubt their perception or reality or what they see as going on. Like you're making them doubt that. I'm ignorant in this realm. Okay. Because Brad's like actual gas, like getting in. Like,
no.
Then I know that.
First of all, 2 things. Like I feel like the term gaslighting is a new thing. In the recent years, right?
I mean, I should probably look it up because it's probably been around for years and years. And
but you haven't heard about it till like
but it's much more
recent
common
years now. It's like, gaslighting.
Don't gaslight me. Don't gaslight me.
And so I know I've said this on one of the episodes, but I don't really understand gaslighting. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I think it's because of that, where everyone's like, oh, don't gaslight me. Because it's the same thing how you hear all these crazies that are like, that's misogynistic. That's, you know, whatever, right? They just throw these terms out. They don't really know what they mean, but they're trigger terms that are used in every platform that you hear. Mm-hmm. And so it's like, oh, well, you've offended me, so that I'm going to throw gaslighting. I'm throwing gaslighting out at you now. You know, and that's what I feel like. I feel like it's just this.
It is thrown out of it. It's very real, and it's definitely, especially in manipulation, it is used.
I'm not saying that none of that's real.
Yeah.
I'm saying that I think people have the wrong definition of it or understanding of it. But that's what I'm saying. I don't fully understand gaslighting because I feel, is this kind of like the mansplaining thing?
What do you think mansplaining is?
Like when I'm telling you that something, like you could do something, you already know it.
Yes, right? But it's not the same.
Okay.
Which you do mansplain, by the way. And it is like, sometimes I just like, thank you for explaining to me where the batteries go. I appreciate it so much. I'm not sure how I'm functioning in life when you're not around.
I don't even realize that I'm doing that.
I know you don't. And most men do not. But like, I laugh because it's not just you. Like, let's say I'm doing something and there's like a 0.5 seconds longer than you feel that task should take. You then say like, I'll do said task.
I'm like, do you not see the option? Just press it. Like, I don't understand why you're
0.5 seconds. And it's just like, well, clearly this is a problem for you. Let me show you. It's man show, not just mansplain. Anyways, that's off topic. But gaslighting more is like, let's say I'm thinking that you're being manipulative, right? Okay. And then you're like, I don't know what your deal is. Clearly this is a you problem. And like at that point, you're beginning to make me question everything that I feel as if I'm seeing. You know, it's like, well, am I the problem? Right? Like, let's say you have a big communication issue in your marriage and your husband is always defensive every single time you bring something up. Yeah. And you decide you're going to have the courage one day to address like this defensiveness. And you even approach it in the right way and you have the right tone and you just say, hey, I really see this as an issue in our marriage. Every time I bring something up, you respond defensively. And their immediate reaction is not only to get defensive, but let you know that if you didn't act this way, I wouldn't have to respond this way. Okay. And like, it's just like a continual thing so that you almost feel like I'm not allowed to bring up anything or address anything because somehow it's always turned back on me.
So would another example of gaslighting be like when a wife brings up old things over and over again?
I would say no.
That's kind of what that
because it's still not like, it's not that you're making someone question what happened or their version of reality. Like those things really did happen. That's like the keeping score side of things. And it can still be manipulative, right? Because if you're constantly bringing up what someone has done in the past and looking for them to somehow finally make it okay, but it's never going to be okay. Like they're never going to be able to do enough to make it right. It's still a manipulative tactic. After a period of time, like after you have walked out some healing and you've talked it through and blah, 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 then you need to start moving forward. So I'd say that could be a manipulative tactic, but I don't think that's gaslighting because it's still, I'm not making you question your perception of reality. Like that really did happen.
So is it more men that do commit gaslighting offenses to women?
I don't think so. I think this is both.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay. I'm just asking questions.
I mean, I think women do this to men all the time too, where it's like, okay, I'm trying to think of a good example. Let's say a man feels disrespected continually. I mean, it's the same kind of thing. Like he feels disrespected. He kind of keeps bringing this up. Well, if you would just not be this way, and this way, then you wouldn't have this problem. And like continually making it where someone else is like, I guess this is a me problem. I guess I need to change all these behaviors and I can't address anything that needs to be taken care of. Like that's the way that I think of gaslighting. So specifically, like the definition I have is making your spouse or partner doubt their memory, perception, or reality. It's like, you never saw that. You never did that. No. Like,
so it's a little different than what you were just saying then, I would say.
Yeah. I mean,
right?
I think that's my version of gaslighting.
I feel like you're gaslighting me on the definition right now. You're making me question.
Well, what I'm saying is that you're still saying like what you're seeing as a reality in our marriage is not the reality. Yeah. Like you think you feel disrespected. Well, that's your problem. I'm not disrespecting you. Or you think that we have a communication issue and I'm always defensive. Yeah. Like, no, it's just like the constant, like coming up against a wall and feeling like I can't get past this wall because no matter what I say, it's never actually. And
so then you're manipulating your spouse into being like I don't know, I'm just this, overly submissive,
like just totally spouse. Passive beat dog, right? Yeah. Like I can't actually have a conversation.
Control them.
Yeah. Have you come to the I like how I give it all these definitions and you're like, so your definition's wrong. That's gaslighting. No, I don't feel that my definition is wrong.
Did I just gaslight you?
You gaslighted the gaslighting.
See?
Wow.
Yeah.
Master.
Yeah, I guess. No, it was just that what you were explaining, then you read that definition, and to me, it just was a little different than what you were explaining. That's all.
Well, what would be your definition then?
That's what I'm learning this.
Okay.
I'm really, because
here's another tactic: passive aggressive.
Ugh, I hate that. I do. I do. So what's funny is that my daughter, she doesn't know the definition of passive aggressive, because I would say things. She's like, you're just being passive aggressive. I'm like, no, I'm being aggressive. Like, there's nothing passive about this.
That's straight aggression.
Yeah, I'm telling you 100% what needs to be done. Like,
so the passive aggression on here is using indirect resistance, sarcasm, silent treatment to express discontent without ever really addressing the issue openly.
Yeah.
I mean, I would say this is probably, if I use any element of manipulation, I don't ever mean to, but this is probably the area that I would most naturally go to.
Yep.
Wow.
I'm listening. I'm agreeing. Like, I'm engaging in conversation.
Is that engagement? Just yep.
Yeah. I'm engaged in a conversation. I'm like waiting for the, more. Like what you're saying.
This is where you say, I clearly don't think you ever done that.
You've never been passive aggressive. Like, no. I can't think.
Cue you. Come up with a little like arrow or something. Like, that's where you come in and say.
I can't think of an instance where you've been passive aggressive. Like, I can't.
I mean, I try to address things, but I know, like, first of all, sarcasm, I really like sarcasm.
But I don't think that's passive aggressive.
Well, I mean, they specifically talk about it as in, I think that it can be a passive aggressive response, right? Because I'm not specifically addressing an issue. I'm like sarcastically talking about it and not actually allowing it to be room for a conversation. I'm just talking about it sarcastically. Like I could think of an example for me. This would be me being like a passive aggressive thing. Okay. Like, man, I just love how my kids clean up after themselves so much. Yeah. Right? I'm not always saying that it's all negative. I'm just saying if I go somewhere, like that would be it. Like where I walk upstairs and like the kids can hear me, right? And I'm like saying something like, oh, like, let me get this towel. Let me da 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 da. That's it's passive aggressive.
Yeah. See, I just feel I'm all screwed up on my definitions because I just feel like passive. Like, that's the key. I think
we think about like silent treatment more.
To me, I'm like the sideline husband that doesn't do anything. Those kind of things of passive aggressive. How did those two words even get together? It doesn't make anyway. It really doesn't.
It actually doesn't now that you're saying it.
When you really think
are you passively aggressive? But I guess it does make sense because it isn't overt aggression, right? It's like.
So is my passive aggressive like when I do this, so like you and the kids, right?
I've told you this before. That's 100% passive aggressive.
And I'll tell them, like, if you're watching on YouTube, you'll see me, my hand is like right under my nose. And if I have my hand like this, I can't see under my hand. And so if I'm walking around like this, then I can't see the floor, right? And I'm like, kids
I should be like, can you not see the lawn needs to be edged?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, the boys do that. So, but I'm like, literally, they'll step over things.
Oh, yeah, they will.
And I'm like, how did you not? Because I'll be like, hey, there's jeans on the floor upstairs, not in the room. Like, I give a little more grace for like in the rooms, right? Like, it's, yes, they need to clean their rooms, but I'm not like, get your room clean and screaming at them or anything like that. But like the common area upstairs, especially like friends are coming over and I'll go upstairs and I'm like stepping over clothes.
Which also, right? I'm like, how are the clothes here?
That I don't know. But anyway, and the kids have gone up the stairs before me.
Yeah.
Right. And then I follow him and I'm like, there's jeans right here. Where? Right there. I'm pointing at him. You literally walked over them.
I would say you cross then from passive to overt aggression. The passive aggressive is to then make the comments about no one seeing past their nose throughout the time.
Yeah.
Like that would be more of your passive aggressive. Walking upstairs and then being like, right here. Then
I can't imagine with all of these things we've talked about, but especially this part, like the marriage that you're stuck in.
Yeah, that
and I will say that
lot.
You're stuck in, because it is a stuck marriage, right? Where you have a husband or a wife that's just passive aggressive.
Yeah. Obviously it can be worked on, but when you have one person who...
Yes, I'm not saying that it can't be worked. I'm saying like currently right now.
Yeah, you feel stuck.
Like, yeah.
Yeah.
I would. And I'd be like, I don't even know what to do.
Silent treatment specifically in this area to me would be very difficult.
Well, for you, right?
Me.
So like there's people
Brad's like, not for me. Be silent all day. And I have no problem with that. No.
No, but what I'm saying is like for you specifically, but I know guys that, we literally just had our group last night and there's a few guys in there that they intentionally have to work on communication with their wives.
Right.
They're not giving them silent treatment at all.
Right.
That's just the way they are.
Yeah.
Right. So then if that wife gave the silent treatment, he'd be like, everything's good.
We're finally on the same page.
Yeah. She's learning, right? Like, I guess
we finally have gotten to the level of the relationship
so
where we know
good.
all things by remaining silent.
So that's what I'm saying. Like,
no, I would say this to me is, your spouse is unhappy about something that's happened, and their tactic to basically punish you for a said whatever it is, like you said something wrong, you did something wrong, is I'm now going to pretend you don't exist. I'm not going to speak to you. I'm going to, walk around you whenever I see, like, I'm not, it's that passive aggressive. You did something wrong. I'm not going to talk to you about it.
Yeah.
Right? Like, we're not going to have a grown up adult conversation about it and work towards resolution. Yeah. I'm just going to basically make you suffer and until you tell me you're sorry and or do something that makes it like where I can speak to you again. Like a certain amount of time has passed. Like, to me, that's torturous.
Yeah. No, it is.
It's just like,
there's too many grown kids that don't want to have adult conversations. That's
a word.
So true.
And we're out, guys.
No, it annoys me. It just...
Well, that actually leads to the next one, because the next one is victimhood.
Ugh. Yeah.
I like how everything I say about it, ugh.
Well, this is
but you just said there's too many adult children.
Topics are annoying.
Yeah.
The topic's not annoying. We picked this topic. It's great. What
is this gaslighting?
Yeah. What I'm saying is, like, I hate manipulation. Like, absolutely. I don't use that term, not manipulation, hate. I don't use that word a lot.
Yeah.
Very rarely. But this is something I do absolutely hate, right? It makes people feel stupid. You're taking advantage of people that
you're out for self.
Love you.
Yeah.
That, want to have a relationship with you, that, or random dude trying to, like, you meet somewhere and they're trying to, I absolutely hate that. As soon as I feel manipulated,
do you feel manipulated by the Instagram ads that you click on?
I don't feel that.
This is the best soap. Yeah. I know it.
I don't. That's not manipulation. It's an advertisement.
Okay.
Yes.
That is manipulating you.
Listen. Okay. Since we opened this door.
Oh no.
So we get, my youngest and I, like bar soap, right?
I'm so scared.
No, this. You buy it for us.
I know, yes.
And you buy us like this one brand
of
soap, right? And it's fine. It's good. Like, I like the way it smells. When there's all these different, smells or whatever. They're not flavors. You shouldn't eat soap. But all these different smells. Is that mansplaining?
Yes. So, okay. That's 100% mansplaining.
But anyway, so then I see an ad and it's like, this guy just like speaking the truth. And I'm like, I like this guy. And he sells.
Therefore, I like your soap.
Yeah, I like your soap now. And so I send you the ad and I'm like, forget the other
If I could tell you guys
people.
how many times that I get things from Brad, just like, check this out.
Yeah.
Look at this. This seems good. I'm not saying we need this.
Okay.
I'm not saying we need to buy this.
100%. I sent you something because I thought it was very
That's
interesting.
manipulation. Now I'm thinking about it. Interesting.
Oh. Interesting. Yes.
Wifey, do you want me to be happy? Look at this.
Buy me
soap.
this soap. Everything will be solved. No, there's one thing I did say. I said, I am not asking to buy these. I just want you to see them.
Yes.
But the soap, I mean, we got to have soap. I don't understand what's wrong with that.
Cannot with
There's two different soap guys.
So anyways.
So I think an advertisement works. They work. I don't feel manipulated.
Well, they're 100% manipulation.
No, because I can say no.
It is the used car salesman, but in a way that you can either.
That dude was not a used car salesman.
No. I'm saying you are choosing to watch the used car salesman, quote unquote, versus feeling forced to watch the used car salesman.
Side note, if you're a used car salesman, listen, we're just using that as a phrase.
Yeah.
Okay?
Wow, Brad with the caveat today.
I'm just saying, because I'm like, I know people that sell cars, and I'm like, I'm not trying to.
No, it's a great way to make a living.
Yeah.
Just don't make somebody feel like, you are out to take advantage of them, which is what manipulation is ultimately. Yeah. So the thing with the advertisements for you is you don't feel taken advantage of. And so then it doesn't feel like manipulation.
Yeah. No, it doesn't. Well, no, because I'm choosing
to be manipulated.
Well, then you could say that about everything. Right?
Exactly.
You want to see, there's a new movie coming out by Angel Studios or something. And it's a Christmas movie, and the ads on K-Love, she's like, I want to see that movie. I've already seen the preview like 3 times from you. Like, I want to see this movie.
I haven't shown you the preview.
Yes, you have. So, you for sure have shown me the preview.
Just mentioned.
You for sure have shown me the preview. At least once. Maybe one of the kids did.
This is gaslighting. I'm trying to get you to have a memory that isn't there. Actually, now that I'm thinking about it, you do this. This is Brad. It's like I'm setting up for the podcast today.
What did I do today? What?
And I'm moving something forward. I'm the one that does this. Yes. I'm the one that does this every week. We never pull that forward. We, first of all. And I'm like, yes, we do. No, we don't. And in his mind, unequivocally, he's like, your memory is wrong and mine is correct. Even though I know. That, my friends, is a perfect example of gaslighting. So anyways.
You just gaslighted me too, because you turned everything back around. You turned everything back around to me.
This podcast is not going as intended.
You just turned it back on me. You know you did.
That's not gaslighting.
That's what you
That's
said
just
it was.
manipulation.
You said it was gaslighting.
Anyway,
That's what you said earlier.
No, I said
when you turn it back around.
Gaslighting. No, I did not. I said gaslighting is in making the partner, I can't even read, doubt their memory, perception, or reality.
Okay.
So there you go. Anyways, victimhood, playing the victim to gain sympathy and avoid responsibility. We see this a lot with, well, my parents were, like all of that kind of stuff, which I will say, it's not that your family of origin doesn't have a huge impact, and you should explore it. You should look at why do you respond the way that you do. But if there's a point where you're choosing to remain a victim of that, that's what you need to see.
Yeah, you can't live. So you can't, I mean, you can okay, you can say, all right, I grew up like this.
Yeah.
My parents did this.
Yeah.
Not even that your parents were wrong. It's just.
Yeah, this is the way that's right because I always saw my parents communicate this way.
So my parents did this, so this is why I'm like this. You can only say that. I'm not a psychiatrist. Like, I'm sure there's someone, or a psychologist, whichever, counselor, that'll disagree with me on this because I don't know the science behind it. But for me, I'm like, you can only say that a couple times. After that, you have to start owning your own thing.
Yeah. Right? I mean, to me, it's like you have a certain period of time where you do need to pay attention to the contributing factors that have caused you to respond the way that you do. But there's a certain period of time, and as you grow, as you grow into an adult, at some point you just have to own you.
Absolutely.
And so it no longer can be a justified excuse of, well, that's the way I've seen it, or that's the way it was. Like, at a certain point, it's just now you doing those things.
Yeah.
And so it's like, yeah, spend the time looking back, spend the time recognizing why, but then you have to realize, like, but I'm responsible now for changing that pattern.
Absolutely.
Or that thought.
I mean, it's not that it's not true.
Yeah.
Right. But at a certain time, you have to own your own actions. It's not your parents' fault that you keep doing whatever you're doing.
Right.
Or that you act the way you act, or whatever it is.
Yeah. As soon as you know, you're responsible for what you know.
Absolutely.
And I think that's the distinction.
Yeah. You have to change. We talked about this last night too. And we were talking about men at this point, but a good point was made. It's like, a boy versus a man. One big aspect of that is it's not age, because we clearly look around. There's a bunch of man boys that are walking around. It's
man buns, man boys.
It's disgusting. But it's that they don't take ownership of their own actions. Right. Right. A kid will always want to blame somebody else. Inherently, right? Like, as they grow up, it's
well, that was their fault. They made me do it, or whatever it is.
Yeah, we're born selfish, basically. All these things. Yeah. And so you want to protect yourself. So I was like, no, I did it because of this. I did it because of that person. But as you grow up, so like that point that was made, I thought was great, because I could say my 15-year-old, I know he's 14, but I'm just giving like I could say my 15-year-old is acting like a man. Yeah. Because he does not defer his actions to anybody else. Right. He owns what he does. He makes decisions. Like, yes, he's still learning, so some of those decisions aren't going to be the best ones. Right. But he owns his actions, right? And so to me, that's a big issue that's going on now, where it's like, it probably started, I would think, so I would say this, it did not the counseling craze, right? Like, to go get counseling, to go see a therapist, which is good. It's not bad. Yeah. But didn't that craze happen like in the 80s? I feel it was like an 80s craze. And the only reason I say this, I feel
like I want to say yes, but I don't statistically have the to back
statistically I have nothing on this. The only reason I'm saying this is, like, I was born in the 70s, grew up in the 80s, but like just seeing like television and all that, and like different movies, like, it seems like the therapist thing was a big deal in the 80s. I don't know about the 70s, maybe it was, but I don't know. But I'm just saying, is like, it seems like since that's become a big deal, now and we joke around, right? Yeah. Like, well, tell me how that feels. How'd your mom, treat you? Yeah. And all that. And then, oh, well, that's why. It very well can be a cause. Absolutely. But now fix yourself, because you're not going to go back. Hey, mom, re-raise me. Yeah. Right? I'm still a baby, so could you re-raise me? That is a very good point. Yeah. Like, you can't do that at a certain point.
You can't go rewrite every mistake that was made, or
like I've listened to a guy and he's excuse me, sorry, this whole cold whatever thing my son brought home. I'm listening to this guy and he's telling me all this stuff, and all I hear are excuses. I hear no ownership. Yeah. I hear, well, I've been dealing with this since I was a kid. And then I went to this place, and now it wasn't even parents. It was, I went to this place, and this place acted like this and this and this and blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, at some point, the common factor is you. Yeah. Like at some point you need to look in the mirror and realize that, like, the whole victim, like, I don't.
But it is used as a tactic for manipulation, especially in marriages and friendships and all those things. Is people are saying like, well, I can justify this part of myself, right? This weakness, this aspect of my character that is not good, or my actions that are not good, because of what has happened to me. Yeah. Because of, and this, I would say, is where you get into the bringing up the past over and over again to the point of being unhealthy when a marriage is trying to recover from some level of crisis. If you stay in victimhood to a point of, like, you should be now in that phase of moving to the next season, right? After you've allowed time for healing and time for, all of those aspects that are healthy, then you can start using this as a form of manipulation.
It's so crazy to me because you sit there as people that, you hear stories, right? And you hear stories of recovery and marriages are stronger than ever. And, I've like personal recovery, personal advancement, all those things. And you hear all these stories and you want that change, but you don't want to step out of being a victim. Yeah. Because all those stories, none of them are like, oh, I'm a victim, so this is why I've done this. Yeah. No, they are like, okay, this happened to me. Right. But this doesn't define me.
Yeah, it's the overcomer spirit that is needed.
And that's what people want. But then you have those same people that want that, and they still want to sit back and go, well, woe is me, because this is what happened. So I'm the only person on earth that this has ever happened to. Yeah. Which is untrue. Right. Yeah. And so this is why I can act like this. Or exactly what you're saying, where you have a friend that's mean. Yeah. And just constantly mean to you. And it's like, you're not allowed to act like that. Oh yeah, I am, because, my past hurts.
Well, so-and-so did this, and that's why I'm feeling this. Or this happened to me because, and so then we begin, what happens in manipulation then is we begin to justify someone's victimhood. Yeah. It's like, oh yeah, they do have an excuse. This doesn't mean you don't have empathy. This doesn't mean you don't, but there comes a point where this does become manipulative.
Absolutely.
And it's important to recognize where that line is. And I think seeing it clearly in yourself and in your marriage is important. And in friendships, it's really important too. Here's one that is interesting, but I've seen this in marriages too, is I would say it actually should be two: control, and then control through finances. But to me, control in general is obviously a form of manipulation. Where we see this really play out is, I would say, control through isolation is a really big thing when it comes to someone who's really manipulative. Like, they will start to control your friendships, your time, your, where you, the space that you operate in, right? All of a sudden it's like, let's say you have really close friends and they start to, over time, just talk about how those friends, they aren't very good for you. They're always negative about our marriage. Like, they just begin to like plant seeds of like, they make you miserable when you spend time with those friends. And so they keep you isolated. Like,
but is this true or untrue?
In a manipulative sense, it's not. So this to me is like, if someone is very manipulative and they want their spouse to be isolated from anyone who's going to have an external influence on their life. Like, they want to be the only source. So they get to that place where they work hard at cutting off friendships. They work hard at cutting off family. They work hard at even severing like work stuff for that spouse. And I have walked alongside a lot of women who have, they feel all alone entirely, but it's been a system that has been over years and years and years where friends are cut off, families cut off, like every source of kind of external.
Because I think that I think we have to be careful talking about a lot of this manipulation, because
you might have toxic friends.
Well, absolutely. Yeah. Like, I would expect as a spouse that you would tell me, like, hey, when you have hung out, I'm a horrible example. I have like 2 people that I hang out with. Like, that's it. Like, I don't have, but like when you hang out with these friends.
Well, you're not a horrible
like
example because when you really surrounded yourself with men that were, and this, even in that work environment, but they all had a moral compass that was also pointed in the wrong direction. You surrounded yourself with people like that.
Yeah.
And so it was like, no one was telling you like, oh, you're doing this wrong, that wrong, and whatever else. It was like, no, you surrounded yourself with people that were affirming your lifestyle choices.
Yeah, but I would expect, like, if you, are talking to me about your friends and you're going to go do something, and like, I would say, I don't really like that.
Right.
But
You've called out friendships in my life that you felt
but I'm
have
not
been
trying
toxic.
to manipulate you into
Isolation.
I'm just trying to say, like, I don't think that's healthy. And
Yeah.
I would prefer if you didn't.
Yeah.
Right. And it would be a discussion we'd have. That's what I'm saying. I think that there's a super fine line right here because of that. Like, just because your husband or wife come up to you and say, hey,
I don't see this as
those
healthy.
friends are not healthy for you, that doesn't mean they're trying to isolate you and take away control and ground you from seeing anyone.
And I think for somebody that's in this situation, it is like a very intentional thing done over time, and you can see it. And so this isn't about your regular. Here's the reality. For most people in a typical marriage and or conversation, which friends are not good for you in your marriage.
You would,
but you like justify it.
Yeah.
So this is a very different thing that you're talking about when it's being used as a manipulation versus just protecting what really matters in your marriage, right? If you have friendships that are not for your marriage, if they are not for,
well, that's what I'm saying. Because some of the examples you gave was like, they always talk negative about your marriage. They always talk and I'm like, well, you should be saying those things.
Yeah. No, I'm talking specifically about if there is a toxic side of this. If you are literally using manipulation to isolate your spouse, like that's a problem. So, and I've seen that. I've seen women who have just ended up like wondering how in the world everyone that mattered to them is out of their life because over time that has taken place. So that is a form of manipulation. We have time for one more, and this one's a big one too. Withholding affection. That's a big one that we see in marriages.
I think that's a 99% women's side one.
No, I don't agree with you.
Interesting. Really?
Yeah.
Really, I mean, in the relationship, in the physical aspect of a marriage, right?
Well, let's divide what we consider. So, a lot of people are just associating like affection like with the sex side of things.
Yeah.
Right. But no, what happens is, affection, especially like any kind of physical affection, right? Like holding hands, hugging, kissing, just touching someone when you're going by. When someone's withholding that, if a man is mad too, they also don't do those things spontaneously. It's like, oh, like they're going to walk by and instead of like smacking their wife on the butt, what are they going to do? They're just going to walk by. Mm-hmm. Or instead of like giving my wife a kiss when I get home, like, no, I'm not going to give you a kiss. I think this is both sides. Now, the sex part, I would say that's probably more of a woman issue. But affection, no. I think that's both men and women.
Interesting.
Yes. Do you agree, sir?
I mean.
Or do you want to gaslight me?
I mean, I do agree, but I do feel that still, even saying all that, I still feel it's a more of a woman manipulation.
The hand in the air. If you're missing out if you don't watch on YouTube. Let me ask you this. Do you think if you're a little annoyed or a little frustrated?
I always smack you in the booty when I walk by.
Oh,
and you
you're
know
not even
this.
letting me finish the question.
Right.
Do you think you have a tendency to not flirt or not be as physically affectionate?
No.
I disagree.
Are you gaslighting me? No. So maybe not verbally flirtatious. I don't know.
Yeah.
But I feel like I'm always like putting my hand on your shoulder, putting my hand on your hand,
Yeah.
I'm
We
always
both
doing
work hard
something.
at doing that, but I can tell whenever maybe it's not even within us that there's maybe a little bit of tension, but let's say even external tension that is like there's a lot going on. I think that has a tendency to happen.
So, but that's not directed. It's not
you being used as manipulation.
No,
I'm just
and that's
saying,
what I'm saying, because I do, like, I feel like I've diagnosed myself with like the stupid ADHD thing. And so like
Google diagnosed me.
Whenever like the other day, there was like 12 people in the house. Everyone has a conversation going on. So there's like 12 different conversations going on. It's all, we don't have like, we have a nice house. I'm not going to, like I'm not dogging our house. I love our house, but it's not very big.
Yeah.
Right. So in the living room, kitchen, like there's 12 people. There's you're not walking around like able to walk around people, right? You're in the middle of all this. There's just tons of conversations going on. And like, yeah, that like to me, that creates a lot of tension for me because I have a hard time talking to you or someone and not hearing the next person over and not hearing the next person over and not hear. Look, so I'm hearing 12 different conversations, trying to concentrate on this one. And so then I get like, I don't shut down, but I get more withdrawn. Yeah. Because I'm like, my brain is hurting. I mean, it hurts. Like, I don't know how else to explain it. Like,
my brain hurts, babe.
I have to like just kind of withdraw a little bit.
Yeah.
I don't like that, but I do it. And I don't like it, but I'm not trying to manipulate anybody.
And I think it is important. I'm glad you did the caveat of recognizing that some of these things that are happening, it's not because your spouse or you are just overtly manipulative. It's just these things can be used as that tactic in a marriage. And when it's being used, and I think I'll go back to the definition, that manipulation in marriage involves using tactics to control or influence a partner in ways that may be harmful to the relationship. And I think that's the important thing to remember here. If you're trying to control or influence in a harmful way.
The key words are control and harm.
Yeah.
Right? Because I influence you and you influence me.
Yeah.
And so I think like, I mean,
did I move that?
Yeah,
I don't remember.
we could get like we could keep going, but I really do feel like manipulation. I don't feel is a good thing.
Yeah.
Right. As a whole, but at the same time, I do feel in a healthy marriage, right, that there is like these little aspects of that. But I don't know if it's manipulation because it's not in a harmful way.
Yeah,
and
it's not trying to control or be harmful. I think that's the difference.
I'm definitely influencing you. Like I'm
trying to manipulate you to love me all the time.
Right? I mean, you think I love doing the dishes?
That's manipulation, folks.
Yeah. I'm in there washing the dishes. I'm like,
look at me, washy.
Look at me.
Is it an acts of service that you like?
No.
Do you think we need to do a part 2 of just like talking about how to address, like how to handle some of these things?
Yeah, we can.
Or are you feeling like we've closed the circle on this topic?
I mean, I think we have closed it. I think the biggest thing you need to realize is, one, just because your spouse is quote unquote using one of these, it doesn't mean that they're manipulating. You have to really figure out, like, are they controlling me? Are
they being harmful?
Is it harmful? Yeah. Right? Because like we skipped the money one, but like I don't feel like you manipulate me with finances at all.
Do you want this soap, Brad?
Yeah.
Do you?
I don't feel like you manipulate me with finances at all, but you do, which is I am fine with. Like, you are like, no, we can't do that, or no, we can't, like,
yeah,
and that's
which is actually a hard role to play too.
And I'm not saying
because I'm always like, I want you to have the soap, baby.
But that's not why I don't ask. I don't ask for a lot of things.
Yeah.
I really don't.
Yeah.
Right. Of course, there's all these things always, right? But I don't ask for anything because I don't want to put you in that situation too. But also,
this is Brad. That's a nice truck. Look at that truck.
We cannot afford
That's
a truck.
a nice truck.
I know we can't afford a truck. Absolutely. And you know that I know that.
Is that passive aggressive?
No, it's not at all.
No, what we're saying is don't get into that. Like what we're doing right now, which is like, is that gaslighting? Is that passive aggressive? Like you need to recognize harm
and harmful.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, those are the questions.
I think that's the biggest thing.
So for a challenge for the week, to me, I think that's the question you need to ask yourself. Is there a controlling or harmful manipulative tactic that's being used in your marriage or that you are using that needs to be addressed? Because you can recover from that. Like Absolutely. It doesn't have to be like, oh no, my spouse is manipulative or I am manipulative and now we're doomed.
You might not even know you're doing it.
Absolutely not. And being aware of it means that you're now aware of it and you can do something about it and you can have open communication.
Don't blame anyone else.
Yeah. And you can set your boundaries and go see a therapist if you need to. Go see a coach. Like there are so many ways that you can actually work to address the issues that you guys have. Yep. And our goal is always to bring you guys hope in the middle of that. Not to just point out a problem and say like, oh, that's a problem and you're doomed. No. If there's a problem, it's so cool. You guys can go and actually do something about it and fix it. So if you guys have not subscribed to YouTube, you missed all of the facial expressions today. Go and subscribe. We would love it if you left us a review. We're so thankful for each and every one of you. We'll see you next week.